when I was doing marketing, like before you and I met, I was doing some marketing campaigns for different companies and stuff. And sometimes it wouldn't work out the gates, right? And I had to learn fast that that didn't mean I was a bad marketer. It just meant that that didn't work with that audience. And I got to figure something else out and be creative, right? And so that's where when you evaluate and you use like effective behavior or ineffective behavior based on the result that you're going for as a starting point, my goodness, it can completely change everything. And really what you want to do is you really you get to analyze, did my behavior change? Or was it the same, either effective or ineffective behavior?
Right.
And if it is the same, if you find yourself doing a pattern, you got to knock it out. And sometimes you need to do more than just say, I'm not going to do it anymore. You need to take action, do something, train yourself to overcome that kind of thing.
So, what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement.
Welcome to the Prosperity U podcast. We are excited to have you here today, and we are super fired up to dive into some really great topics. And there's really four things that we want to talk about today. And I'd normally talk about our mission, vision, and values, and I'll just keep it real high level. Our mission is simple. It's to help families across the nations, to help press them together and help them drive more impact and income so they can ultimately do more of the things they love with the people they love most. And there's so many people out there that have a dream. You have a dream, you have bigger things that you want to not only accomplish but do in the world and serve the world. We're not a Lamborghini lifestyle company. That's not how we would express what we're doing. We are a legacy company, and nothing against Lamborghinis. You know what? I think that there could be a place for that, in with proper intentions surrounding some of those moving elements. I'm just saying it's just not the way that you would ever see us uh, market or try to get a message across, is utilizing a Lamborghini to get someone's attention to doing what we're doing. For us, it truly is about a legacy. And yeah, so the topics for today are we're going to talk about distractions and the realities of bad behaviors. That might not sound like such a sexy topic, but it's a reality of something that we want to assess, address, and take action on accordingly. We're going to talk more about what's coming in 2025. We've been kind of revealing some of the things that we've been working on, and we're getting ready for an actual release and we're slowly releasing little tiny things as we go, and we're doing it with internally within our community. So we'll talk a little bit about those things. We're going to talk about the three C's, and that really is the three C's that really sets the tone and the pace for your success. And then also setting the right expectations. And that's a really important thing that we're really diving deeper into 2025, would you say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I mean, where do you want to start with this point number one of distractions and bad behaviors? Like like we've
Well,
got that as a talking point, but where do you want to kind of like kick that off and give context for?
I think funny enough, bad behaviors is something that me, Matt, Janelle, and Shane were talking about just this morning. Now, of course, it was more in context of behaviors while trading. Um, because one of the things that we found is like sometimes people they might do something, they might make a mistake in the charts, right? And then what they do is they just say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just not going to do it anymore. But then what you have to do is you have to evaluate, do you then do it again? Right? So like, did the behavior change just because you said you're not going to do this thing anymore? Or did the behavior stay the same? And if the behavior stayed the same, being an ineffective behavior, then now what? Now what can you do?
Ooh, you used the special word effective. Ineffective. You said ineffective, but
Yeah.
like effective. How can you
Yeah.
identify what's effective and ineffective?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of that's where it gets a little fancy schmancy because it could be people have different I guess goals, right? People have different metrics that they're measuring and things that they want to accomplish. Um, so you kind of have to judge whether or not the behavior was effective or ineffective based on the result at the end of it. Um, and that's based on what you consider to be a positive result, right? Um, but for the most part, it's pretty simple. If the behavior provides a quality result, is it effective behavior? If the behavior created not a positive result, a negative result, or a break even result in the case of trading, then that was probably an ineffective behavior. And the reason you want to use those words, by the way, is because it lacks judgment. It's pure evaluation. Judgment would say, "Oh, I did good today." That's a judgmental statement. It's based on perspective, right? It's not necessarily based on the result. It's more of like I feel like it was a good thing.
I'll give you an example if I can.
Yeah.
So last night we're at Awana. You may know what Awana is. It's kind of like Cub Scouts for people of, well, of the faith. Whether or not you're of the faith, there's a lot of kids that are coming in that don't know. But it's kind of like Cub Scouts. It's a version of Cub
Okay.
Scouts. You also dabble in, scripture study and all that kind of stuff with the kids, and it's so much fun. So my son Micah, we've been working on reading and all that kind of stuff, and he's turning 8 years old, and it was fun to see all the kids come together, and they're gunning for the first badge, right? And so, first kid gets his first badge, and hey, everybody's celebrating. And now it's like, what do I got to do to do that? And like, Micah was halfway through, and we were kind of struggling on three major components, but we got through that. And there was actually four more pages, and he was like, I'm not leaving without getting that badge. You know what I mean? So he
Nice.
and he was also at a table with like, great kids his age, grade tours, and he's further ahead, of course. And then my son Asher, he's in kindergarten, and so he's at a different table, and he doesn't know how to read yet, right? I mean, he can pick out certain things, right?
Yeah.
He can pick out certain things, and we're working on vowels and a few other moving elements, but oh, I didn't know that, Cameron, that Scouts is faith based as well. I was not aware of that because I've never seen actual scripture in that that they actually pulled that out.
They're they're like PC faith based. They're
Oh,
politically correct.
got you. Yeah, no, like this whole thing is like, for example, they've got sparks. So S stands for savior, P stands for power. A is for accordance, like being in accordance with the word and all that kind of stuff. You got the badge. I love it. So yeah, anyway, so Micah ran for it. He got the badge. Now Asher, he's still working through it, right? And to be fair, his attitude, he's actually we're working on that and it's getting better every time, but he's coming in like the cool kid, you know? Like, I'm too cool for this. But then it sort of sunk in, and we end up going home, and he realizes, well, mom's gonna be real proud of Micah about this badge. And he's like, you know, the first thing he says, Mom, you're not proud of me. And she's like, What? Are you kidding me? Of course I'm proud of you, you know? And then like we had to go through this whole thing of we're proud of you no matter what and all that kind of stuff. And you're more important than a badge, and like, you can get that badge all you want, right? And
Mm.
so it's like all of that to say, like, the effectiveness in this whole kind of process, like anybody, you can get anything that you set your eyes and your heart on and your focus on, truly. Like if you set the proper effective behaviors, like Micah he did, and if Asher would have chosen, he would have been able to fully get that if he wanted to.
One,
He
and I
could.
think that's yeah, and I think that's the flip side of the coin. Like another good example of that. So when you take the negative, I use the example of this is good versus effective. What
Yeah.
if we went the other way, bad versus ineffective? That's much more detrimental. So
Mm.
like Asher was feeling like what he did was bad,
Which it
right?
was. I mean,
Right.
he's in kindergarten. He's at a different, and we like we're
And
not
and like
expectation isn't for right. Yeah.
yeah, and when I was doing marketing, like before you and I met, I was doing some marketing campaigns for different companies and stuff. And sometimes it wouldn't work out the gates, right? And I had to learn fast that that didn't mean I was a bad marketer. It just meant that that didn't work with that audience, and I got to figure something else out and be creative, right? And so that's where when you evaluate and you use like effective behavior or ineffective behavior based on the result that you're going for as a starting point, my goodness, it can completely change everything. And really what you want to do is you really you got to look I shouldn't say gotta. You get to
Yeah,
you
that's
you
a
get
fact.
to analyze, you know, did my behavior change or was it the same, either effective or ineffective behavior?
Right?
And if it is the same, if you find yourself doing a pattern, okay, you gotta knock it out. And sometimes you need to do more than just say, I'm not gonna do it anymore. You need to take action, do something, train yourself to overcome that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was just thinking of this while we're having this conversation. Tony Junks posted this in a Facebook group earlier, and I know we're not as active in there anymore. There's too many things going on to be that active in there, but like this is so on point. This is effective. Because like I was just explaining in multiple calls that I was having over the last little bit, like every so 2017, I'm faced with fears of bankruptcy. And I think I'm rewording that now because I don't know that it didn't happen, right? Like so I didn't go bankrupt. Like it was never really something that needed to happen and it didn't happen. And I was faced with that fear, right? I was faced with the fear of bankruptcy at that time. And amazing solutions and opportunities came out of it. And it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because I wouldn't be here doing what we're doing here today with you, right? Fast forward
yeah.
2 years, I went through a bunch of growth, different things. And then you and I came together in 2019. And every single year we've grown, we've done something bigger and almost doubled everything that we've touched, right? And
Yeah.
like, and there were clearly doubled years since 2019 and some where it's like like it's almost doubled and like it's constantly growing and every single year there was a big problem that we'd never ever faced before and we were faced with some sort of fear or some sort of like I've never done this before. Ooh, this doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. Ooh, you know what I mean? Like it's like what is this? Get it away from me. I don't like this. And and, and interestingly enough, as you're growing in a community, you got lovers, and then you've heard before, as you grow bigger, you end up getting haters in the process too. Well, that's a new one, you know,
Yeah.
like dealing with some of those things and some of the things, and then learning about HCP, like high conflict people, and what that looks like. And I'm so glad that I went through that high conflict
Which
institute.
yeah, let
You know,
plug that a little bit because that's incredible. Even just the book by itself.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, I just highly encourage people if you're ever faced with a high conflict individual, and some people don't even know that they might even be operating in, they do talk about tendencies of a narcissistic tendency or other forms of like behavioral um, I'm trying to figure out. There's people that might not be diagnosed with such things, but they're behaving in such a way. And so, but how can you spot it? So, what I love about this Bill Eddy individual is that he's a like world-renowned like psychologist, lawyer, mediator. Like the dude trains mediators, he trains judges, and he trains lawyers how to spot this type of behavior and this type of thing so that like all kinds of different things are happening like even learning about what I'm diving deeper into because I'm very convicted of this like we've got uh over a 50% divorce rate closer to 60% divorce rate even in the church crazy right that's happening 75% for entrepreneurs that are not working together 9 out of 10 people who are dealing with mental health and addiction yet over 50% of our western civilization are dealing with this and when divorce is happening, most people don't realize this thing called parental alienation.
Mm.
So we wonder where all the brokenness is coming from in these poor kids. In the meantime, they're being torn between a mom and dad in this process, and mom and dads don't understand what parental alienation looks like, right? And a lot of the times it's this constant chucking of this constant focus on failure and failure. It's like it's unforgiving, and it's just so anyway. Like uh, all of that to say, Bill Eddy covers such a wide variety on how to like deal with some of these scenarios. And I know we're supposed to be talking about trading, and trading truly is about problem solving and it's building skill sets. Well, skill sets, when you get past that, like I always ask students, okay, you learn how to do this. We've got students like literally, and we're gonna interview one next week. I won't say his name all right now because I don't want everybody to go and run at him without him being. I know he'd be okay with it. But
But still.
we have dozens of students that have graduated into prop firm focuses, and I won't mention the prop firm that we are really genuinely looking at right now to potentially lock into with our community as we continue to work on our focus on building our own internal prop firm. But we have a student who with prop firm made $12,000 on one play this week. One play. $12,000. One play.
Amazing.
Prop firm. So just incredibly excited to dive into all of the new developments that we have going on. But that individual is like, I always ask people, what are you going to do? Kind of coming back to tying it in with the Bill Eddy and all these moving variables here. You get to a point where you're in front of the charts, maybe a couple hours a day, a few days a week. What are you doing with the rest of your time? This is an individual that is starting to talk with people, with us on the front end when they're coming through the ads and stuff like that. He has time to do that and he wants to be a part of that. And this is a guy who also has a passion to help people and teach people. And the most incredible thing about the growth that we've seen over the last year is the transformations that we've seen in people. Like even like we just interviewed Shane Daniels, like $20 lot sizes, right? This is a guy who was going to quit with us or in January was thinking of quitting. He wasn't quitting with us, but he was thinking of quitting after everything that he had gone through. He was so frustrated. And here he is teaching people. He's not even on, like, we're not paying him to teach people. He's just doing it. This started with James a year ago, and we now have going like 4 successors where we've got you, we got Janelle, we got Matt, we got Shane, we got 3 others on deck, baby. That means we're gonna have 8 coaches.
Yeah.
That 3 that I can identify and I can see very clearly.
Yeah.
Right? And that doesn't mean that there's not more hidden. Like I know there's more. They're just slowly kind of coming out of the woodwork. Another student who started with us in October. $50 lot sizes already, averaging 40 pips a day. I mean, come on, man. Like, so these people, do you think that they're living on the perception side of the failure and chucking failure at each other? Or they living in the reality of lessons, not looking at it as a failure, but an opportunity to grow past a wall or a ceiling?
Definitely an opportunity.
And so what we find that we've seen, and interestingly enough, as we've grown, coming back to the whole Bill Eddy thing, I just want to highly encourage people, if you have more time in your life at the other side of this, like we do have people that win here and then they say happy birthday, Brian, Merry Christmas, Brian, happy birthday, Zach, Merry Christmas, my old friends, and that's it, and that's as far as it goes. I encourage you to get out into the world and make it a better place. Use that newfound wealth to go do something great, work with people. Now, with that said, while that's happening, even when you're like right now, we're really involved in church growth interdenominationally right now. When you're growing communities, you're going to be met with people that they're going to chuck and throw this around. And so I highly encourage you that if you are in any kind of space, even in your family, like get to a healthier place in your relationship with your marriage, I highly encourage that y'all pick up Bill Eddy's material. I've been honored and privileged. I got to learn directly from the CEO, Megan Hunter. Amazing. Like, I have no idea how God continues to put those types of people in our lives, and you get to have direct access to that kind of thing. But maybe at some point we might also introduce some of this to our community. Who knows? But the point
Well,
is,
I mean, I think even like if you were to take so basically um the first books that you can look into with regard to this, and I'll tell you how this is very, very applicable for you. Um, it's called BIFF. BIFF is an acronym, BIFF. It stands for Brief, Informative, Friendly, Firm. Okay, and it's a way of communication. Now, what I think, the way that I think it could be very, very applicable to our traders is if you, we all know we talk to ourselves worse than we talk to anybody else or about
oh,
anybody else.
100%.
So us to ourselves, we are the high conflict person, okay, which HCP is how they refer to them in the book. So how do you talk to yourself? Keep it biff, brief, informative, friendly, firm.
It's all your fault. Looks interesting. All these books he's got over 20 books, Cameron, that are just completely psychologically. And I ended up like they had some cool testimonies in there, and I was like wondering, I'm like, man, these are actual biblical. Like, there's another one called Ear. I love Ear. Empathy, attention, and respect. And even in my parenting, it's just made it so like I come down eye level to the kids and I use Ear, and it's like it's so good. But all of this to say, like, in some of the books, you'll start to learn about, again, an HCP person. An HCP person does not even know that that's what they're doing half the time. I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize that I had some of those tendencies, and I had to look inward. And I was actually on a call with Megan in a massive group of people where I actually admitted, I was like, man, I had no idea that I was bringing some of this stuff into my conversations, into my relationships. I had no idea. And it just helps you, it opens your eyes. And so I just always, keep open, flexible thinking. Like, just, and that's one of the things that they teach too, is the open, flexible thinking. But just highly encourage it, because like you said, it could be that you're acting that way towards yourself, but it could be that you don't even realize that you're
Yeah,
actually doing it.
yeah,
That was the eye opener for me. And so it's powerful. And again, like, as you're growing in communities, like we're growing church communities and all that stuff, you don't do that without facing problems, without facing hurt feelings, without facing, like, and it's just the reality as you're growing. And those are the things that we're starting to see more of as we are growing as a community. And so how can we now very clearly, from front to back, illustrate our hearts and our genuine authenticity? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the question that I have, is how can we go deeper in being able to illustrate that a lot better front to back? And I think that if people were to just even take a look into some of these materials, you might see some opportunities in your life for sure.
100%.
So if we keep on with the rest of what we were doing, we did talk a little bit about what's coming in 2025. I do want to have another individual that we're going to interview next week. We're going to dive deeper into that. But really, what it is about right now is a deeper accountability. We've got 6 minutes, so we got to roll quick. Um, Deeper and wider accountability. Our students don't get access to calls right now unless they pump in their information and show us their journaling process to be able to get access to passwords to jump on live calls. I just made a post in the community stating that doesn't, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. We'll just send you the password. You can do that. However, you get involved with Prosperity Movement for the deeper, wider accountability. And we want to streamline, and we want to get more of these success stories constantly just pumping out. This is 1 year with James on this level, y'all. Okay, so like, give us one more, keep open, flexible thinking surrounding some of the support and accountability that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world that we're aware of right now, and watch what's going to happen in the coming months, man. Like, this is just,
Compounding.
I'm fired up. So yeah, that's a big one, and there's more, but we've got to take it out in little bits and pieces here. The 3 C's, we're getting a lot more selective. We can only take on 15 students a month right now responsibly. Okay, and we've talked about this before. And as we have more successors to be able to continue doing what we're doing here with the support and accountability, we will be able to take on more. That's not me saying there's only 15 spots left and I'm trying to create urgency. No, there's 15 spots left for 15 for one type of person coming through to fill those 15 spots. Okay, and that one type of person basically is exuding a high level of these three C's. Zach, what are the three C's?
So the first one has to do with your commitment. So commitment's the first C. The reality is trading's not the easiest skill set in the world to learn, right? Obviously, otherwise everyone would be doing it. It requires commitment. It demands commitment, as a matter of fact. So if you come in with your dipping your toes in the water, it's just not gonna heed the results that you might be looking for. You got to be committed. There's going to be moments where you get a little frustrated with the chart. You think it's going to go away. It doesn't go that way. You kind of walk away feeling a little slumpy. You need to be able to be committed enough to come back, get the help and support that you need in order to move forward. So that's the first C. The second C, you got to be coachable. It's kind of hard to teach someone if they already know everything, right? So you got to be willing, be humble to listen to people who are doing it, so that we can help you. All right. And sometimes you might not get it. Sometimes we'll tell you to simplify your chart, take off certain indicators, only enter with one specific scenario for a week. We might guide you on that. This is stuff that we've learned through hundreds of people coming through. So you got to be coachable and open to that. I don't care how many years of experience in trading you have. Okay. That doesn't count unless you've been successful. How many years successfully have you been trading? That's what I'm more interested in. And the third C, go
What
ahead.
does successful look like? But yeah, that's a whole different can. I'll let you
Yeah.
can third C. Yeah.
The third C is character. Character. Are you, when you start to make a lot of money, it's a magnifying glass on your existing character. And so what we're looking for is we're looking for people who enjoy helping others, because we want them to help even more people when they have the time and the financial resources to do so.
I love that. Morally, it's a beautiful thing. May I could further expound on character?
Yes.
I would go ahead and say character in terms of like discipline. And that means that you're going to have the humility enough to assess 3 A's, assess, address, and take proper action. The discipline to show up every single day. The discipline to communicate if something's happening and you need some grace. The discipline to like if you cannot exude a high level of commitment, a high level of coachability, and a high level of character where there's a bare minimum, a communication. Like I've got guys over here that literally, their mom just died. Okay. And they've been with us for a long time. Their mom just died. And there's some estate stuff happening and a whole bunch of like da da da. And this guy is still, through all of that garbage, able to triple accounts, take $5, $50, turn it into thousands of dollars.
And he still communicates with us.
Understand that you're going to have lots of things going on. Nobody's going to force you or push you into anything. While at the same time, we're here to encourage you and to help you and to walk through it with you. Hey, man, I'm on this podcast and I'm not here void of problems. As a matter of fact, I'm getting bigger and bigger problems as I go, baby. And I love it. Why? Because the bigger the problem, the bigger the payoff. The bigger the solution, the bigger the salary. Just is what it is. It's a guarantee. Scripturally, it says that you're going to have many trials and sorrows. It's going to get hard. Probably going to get harder. That's why you're here. We're here to help you reduce things to a certain element and at the same time be able to manage well. And what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets treasured. What gets tracked gets hacked. So we're going to leave that with you. We want to leave you with act on purpose, to use trading to replace your job, live for legacy. True happiness is living in the moment. Whoever that was. Oh, that was Matt. Yeah, thank you. Yes, wonderful. Yeah, well, God bless you, everyone. We got a jet. Next call. Wishing you all the best in health, wealth, and relationships. God bless you abundantly. Chat soon.
Adios.